All right. Hey everyone. I'm happy to be doing another round of live streaming. So this is my second live stream, and I want to wish everyone a nice and happy new year that's about to happen, as well as all the holidays that you are celebrating. May it be a restful time for all of us over the next few days, and that 2021 will be better for everyone in all aspects, as we clearly know. So with that said, let's get this thing going. So first and foremost, I see John Reeves, Vermont, wishes happy holidays. So likewise, thank you, John. Happy holidays to you too as well. So let's see what's happening. I think people are just starting to dial in. So welcome. I'll say a few words about the channel and what's happening. But if you're watching this channel, you might as well be familiar with what this is all about. So my name is Dimitri. I'm the creator of AquaticLog, which is the website, as well as the iPhone and Android application. I think it's its 8th year in progress. So if you have any questions about AquaticLog, if you're a user, anything you want to ask, or any feature you want to introduce, please bring this up. And okay, and I guess the other aspect of my hobbies is I'm a reefer. I'm somebody who's been doing aquariums for the past 20-30 years. The last 10 years or so I've been doing saltwater aquariums, and that's actually one of the reasons I got into AquaticLog. So I needed to build some sort of an application to help me streamline the process. Now, if you have any questions about AquaticLog or treasure corals, please bring this up. And yes, John. So thank you. With this hobby, things go ebb and flow. So you start off by, getting one tank, then there's a second tank, maybe there's even a bigger. So you go either the number of tanks or the sizes of the tanks, and then you get burned and you have to dial back. And then all the time I go through these ebbs and flows myself as well. And there was a point in my life where I was almost contemplating shutting everything down. I've had a few big ups and downs. But one thing that has always appealed to me was the idea of, I've always enjoyed going to local fish stores. I always enjoyed looking at frags. I always enjoyed visiting other aquarists that have their own frag systems and propagation, and getting that extra oomph in coral coloration for me is always one of the biggest draws of this hobby. So this year I've slowly been getting to the point where I decided that in addition to my main tank, I want to actually do coral propagation, and most importantly aquaculture. I want to be able to successfully grow sustainably multiple corals and be able to get to the next level in coral coloration. So with that said, I've tried a few options. I mean, I had a smaller frag tank that you may be familiar with, and unfortunately right now it's no longer there, but I've actually been quite successful with it. But then eventually I ended up getting some aptasia, and I think that's the reason I've shut it down. No matter what I was trying to do, my aptasia was just growing, and at some point I had to so I used calc paste, squirted it on all of them. I scraped them off. Doesn't matter what you do, they just multiply, and at some point they've conquered the whole tank. So not anymore. I will never get a maricultured colony in my tank. I've done this for the past many years, and this time I want to do it very clean. So you may see in my videos I've done a dedicated frag tank. I did a dedicated coral quarantine. So basically it's a 2-stage coral quarantine. All the frags are gonna go into the first stage. I do all the inspection, regular weekly dips, and then I replug the corals every once in a while. And then once they've passed the first stage, they're going to the second stage. And this is a bigger tank. It's twice as big. It's got the Radion blue XR15 light on this thing. I got a nice skimmer, and so shout out to Mike for the skimmer, love it. Basically I monitor the corals there. I have one tank right now that's just helping to control any algae. I haven't actually seen much, and I'm finally getting to the frag tank. So I had quite a few options. I was thinking of going off the shelf frag tank, 5-footer or a 6-footer, thinking of bringing it downstairs, but eventually I always wanted a really large frag tank. And don't we all? I wanted 36 inches by 6 feet, something that I can just put decent lighting on top and not be constrained by how many frags I can place into this thing, because it doesn't matter what you start with, very soon you're gonna have a problem of actually you will run out of coral space. So in my particular case, I'm dealing with this right now with my treasure reef. So with the treasure reef, the corals have grown so fast, especially easy corals such as green slimers. I wish my orange passion would be in this category, but no. And eventually I've decided that I want to do something a little bit different. I've decided that I'm going to do it clean. I'm going to go all in, big tank, and this is what I'm doing this year, so the end of the year. So we've glued the glass, which by the way was an excellent experience for me. I've never imagined, I always heard of other people doing it, but I couldn't imagine actually being somebody who could witness the gluing of the glass. Like, it's the silicone, it's the putting the paints together. I am actually participating in this process mostly as a observer, but I also once in a while try to help Paramal when he's he needs another set of hands to maybe hold something, or just help with cleaning or spraying or whatever. I'm there for that. So very excited. I can basically see it come from just little pieces of glass into what it is right now. So that to me is worth the price of admission as well. So I'm learning something new. Next, we're going to be doing sump, so feel free to ask any questions on that. And to anybody who's dialing in, so I see there's a few of you. There's going to be a big product announcement in the next probably few minutes. So I just want to get a few more people here, talk about a few other things, and hopefully, it's going to be fun. So once again, welcome, happy holidays. I hope everybody's doing well. I certainly can say that this was a tiring year. There's been a lot going on, but we're wrapping up, and I'm looking forward to 2021. So WVU Reefer, hello to you too as well. So welcome. By the way, Sunday night I tried to do something differently, so probably a few of you already had a glass or more. So let's have some fun. Let's talk reef. Let's talk fish. Let's talk software products. You name it. Even yoga or photography, coral photography. there's quite a few topics, so I'm more than happy to talk about this. So John is writing, I just added water to my new Cade 150 gallon tank. So big fan of Cade. I think it's an Australian company. I think at some point 5 or 6 years ago they were available here in Toronto in Canada, but I haven't seen them being offered anytime recently. Doing a fishless cycle and then adding mollies until the fish arrive. Mollies will be there for 4 months while the new fish arrive and quarantine. So John, I gotta ask you what your plans are for the tank in terms of coral and stocking, but meanwhile I will say 150 gallon is a great size. I can't imagine how great it is to have enough space for the tank. One lesson that I've learned many times is you always think that, oh, this is such a large tank, but then you get it and then I've never had a case where I didn't regret adding another foot in length or most importantly in depth. And by the way, this is something that I'm doing with the frag tank. Like I had an option of building a 30-inch or a 36. I'm glad I went with 36, and as you've seen in the video, I think that's realistically, there's no way to add or squeeze another inch or two in there. So I'm pretty complacent with that. So SPS dominant. So I think you're doing it all by the book, and you strike me as a patient man, because if you can wait for 4 months, this is awesome. So with mollies, the only thing is, at least in my experience, they don't like high flow. At least they couldn't handle being in a couple of my frag tanks where I have a good strong flow. So I've abandoned that idea at the time. But right now I'm dealing with a whole bunch of issues in all of my tanks. So speaking of fishless cycles, I tried something different this time for both my Coral Quarantine 1 and Coral Quarantine 2. So both tanks I have set up such that I didn't introduce any bacteria from any existing tanks. So I've never done this before. I've always, before starting any tanks, I've reused old rock. I always try to pick a few pieces from either various stores or even from a few of my fellow aquarists, just to try different bacteria. And I still believe this is the best way to start a tank in terms of diversification. However, I've had cases before where, at night you hear a mantis shrimp, or you get aiptasia, or there can be a whole bunch of other pests and whatnot. So this time around, I'm doing something different. So for both Coral Quarantine 1 and 2, I've added fish pretty quickly because I was using the Microbacter 7 and the stronger variant of the Brightwell bacteria on my tanks, and that actually seemed to have worked. I haven't lost any fish, and as a matter of fact, again, I went kind of against the grain, and I've introduced SPS corals into like tiny frag tanks with a decent medium load, but no basically dry start, and had no spikes and no losses. Now, having said that, I'm still dealing with some algae. Right now I'm dealing with the brown algae. I think it's still the diatoms, so they haven't come first, but then they have. And one thing that I have to always watch out when I'm doing coral is the presence of phosphates and nitrates in the tank. So prior to that, I didn't have it, and my corals would start to pale. And the moment I introduce a little bit of phosphates, is either as food or directly a phosphate or a nitrate, usually this balances things out. So good luck with your Cade 150 gallon. That's a great one. So John, that is true. I'm donating them after the cycle is done. Very nice, very good choice. I'm very patient. I lost the entire system twice and left the hobby for 20 years. This time is by the book and I'm learning from you. So this is what I keep saying myself all the time, is getting things right. And there's so many other reefers, especially aquarists, that I've respect, that have gone through something very, very similar. I mean, let's be honest, we all make mistakes, especially like if I think of my first, 10 years or even now, like I still making a lot of mistakes on a regular basis. Even just look at the powder blue tank that's floating in this tank that you can see on the screen. Unfortunately, it's not as healthy as it could have been, and I should have known better when I got him. So, but he's still alive, and I don't know what's going to happen. But having said that, learning from mistakes is huge. So I'm happy that you can learn from my experience. And to me, especially with the COVID and not being able to visit other friends or stores, is definitely a setback, because it's one of those things where I really wish we'd do more of this. I mean, we learn a lot from the forums, and a lot of times you can actually see who the person is, but there's just something about the one-on-one communication or in a small groups that just takes you to the next level as a reefer. So good luck with this. So Jay Kelly, evening, and thanks Dimitri for your contributions to this hobby we love. So thank you very much, Jay Kelly, and I do my best. I'm trying really hard as of late to just kind of take it to the next level, and I think it's paying off. So I appreciate you dialing in on this evening. To anybody who's just tuned in, a few things. There's going to be a product announcement, so just stick around a little bit for it if you don't mind. And also I want to wish everybody happy holidays. I hope this is the time when you can spend a little bit more time with your loved ones and also with your tank. So Matt Greer is saying, I just added 50 pounds of macro rock. I think you probably meant Marco rock. To my 180 gallon. I left it in a brood can with Microbacter 7 for 2 months. So this is roughly what I'm doing. So as a matter of fact, when I'm going to start my frag tank, I have... Oh, very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. He just said that your show is one I really look forward to each week. Thank you. It means a lot. And that's... just right there makes it very worthwhile doing. So appreciate it. So coming back to the whole bacteria thing. So I've used Microbacter, and as a matter of fact, when I was doing it, it was working excellent. So and when I stopped, this is when I started to see the diatoms. I'm not sure in terms of the actual culture that you will end up having in your tank or in your brood can, right? Because maybe it's just one type of bacteria, and then maybe if it's more natural, you'll get different regions and balanced bacteria. Nobody really knows, but as a matter of fact, I think this is a pretty good way to handle it, and I do plan to use it for my frag tank as well. So, and I hope I won't have to wait for as long as John does, of waiting for 4 months before adding fish. I'm significantly less patient. And what I'm trying to do is I want to actually kickstart growing corals as soon as possible. My treasure reef right now is just overflowing, and I think some of my setbacks that I've had recently, I think more I'm thinking that is just because it just got overgrown. So I never could have imagined a year and a half ago, when I was just putting little frags here and there, that right now I'll be in a situation where the flow is just not going through the way that I want it to. So, but having said that, super happy with the tank, happy with the lighting. I plan to use a different type of lighting for my frag tank just for now, because I think it's a little bit hard right now to buy any new equipment. So I was able to pick a used ATI not a hybrid, just it's not a power module, just a regular sun power. I think that's the one. And again, shout out to Michael. So he just keeps finding those crazy deals. So okay, BC, happy post Boxing Day. Try 2 little fishes, red and purple algae. I feed mine on a cut piece of PVC pipe suspended on by fishing line. Mine are fat, all 6. Dog PC. So first of all, thank you. 2 little fishes. Oh, red and purple algae. So I have first-hand experience with all algae by 2 little fishes. So I've used green, I've used purple, I've used red. Now I find that I've never had a single fish eat the red algae. It's just because it's quite hard, and it's a different flavor. So my tanks would not go for it. I think most of them prefer the purple to the green one. And I think somehow my powder blue is surviving, but I think he's either psychotic or he's got the post-traumatic stress disorder or something, because he's just not like any other fish I've ever seen. So he's got things where he's going around in circles, he's behaving differently from all other fish, and I think he's a very shy eater. So somehow he's finding... I never have seen him eat. So I would do brine shrimp or myso shrimp. I would introduce all types of flakes. I would crush the algae, and he would just... I would see everything just float by his cute little face. But having said that, he's still alive. He's still nibbling on something. I don't know what he's nibbling on. Maybe one day he's gonna change what he's doing, but for now that's really where he's at. So John Refer says, I think people like you because you talk to us. You don't talk down to us. Yes, the Kate. Well, I think there's many outstanding YouTubers that don't talk down. So, and this is just fun. Got it from Algae Barn. Yes. So these are the guys, I've read about them in the Coral magazine. Really impressed with all 3 varieties of algae that they're growing. And as a matter of fact, today I was picking something up from a store here in Toronto, CMA Aquatics. So shout out to Chris. And I was surprised that the store carried all 3 of those algae. He's growing them himself. So very impressive. So if you're in a bind and you need to get some Cheeto or the red lettuce or the Ulva, I think give him a shout out, and you might get there. So shout out to Chris. Got it from Algae Barn. Could not be happier with the quality. Sump is 50 gallons alone. So yes, there's just nothing about picking up a tank that is already pre-built. This was one of the reasons that made it a little bit hard to take a plunge on a custom build, because I've done custom builds before. Doesn't matter, even the best experience, it's still a little bit nerve-wracking. You don't really know what you are getting until you actually get into this thing. So I've dealt with Paramal before. I trust him, but still, it's you need to spend time. You need to order things. Sometimes you run into little issues. You don't have a certain part. Maybe you have to rethink something, or it's just poor road conditions. So and it's delayed gratification. So, but having said that, then you make something one of a kind and something that suits your needs particularly. So OU812 Racing. So I wonder what that stands for. But New Orleans here. So New Orleans, shout out. I always wanted to go. I think the crayfish that you guys have is underappreciated everywhere else. I think this is something that has to be more available in other parts of North America. So shout out. Total of 210 gallons. Yeah, so my new system, so I think it's like 140 gallons plus 150 gallon sump. It's going to be massive. And I still have a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm thinking that might not be the full water volume of this system. So it's going to be great. It's going to be something completely different, and I plan to do something differently with this system than anybody else. So let's see if I will succeed, and we'll know a few months down the line whether I will or not. So Matt is saying, I'm going to give a powder blue a shot in this up and coming year. So first and foremost, make sure that he eats. And secondly, I think the big thing is how it was caught. So, because a lot of them are being caught with, cyanide, or maybe just been going through some serious stress or parasites. So even when you're picking something up, I've unfortunately, especially when I was just starting out in the hobby, I had about 10 powder blues that I've gone through. So it's that bad. I've always been drawn to the fish. It's my absolute favorite fish. If I were to pick one, I'd pick this one. And unfortunately, it just was never doing well for me. So you would get it. It looks great at the store. Usually that's because they have cupramine, some medications, and they still fat because they've been feeding well before they were transferred to your local fish store a lot of times. But then they may last a week, they may last 3 weeks, but eventually they were dying for me. So this is now a first, and well, not a first, it's a second. So I had a really nice fat powder blue in my pragmatic reef, and this is the one that is now happily being housed at my friend's Sandip aquarium. Huge, beautiful aquarium, and I couldn't be happy for him and for the fish. But now I'm just trying to make sure that this guy survives and that he's doing quite well. So we've got a few more people. Thank you. You're watching a little Sunday 7 p.m. Chit chat with Dimitri. That's me. I'm the creator of AquaticLog. So if you're not using the app, and by the way, there's also a website, I think you could improve that. It's an amazing app. I use it every single day. And also Treasure Corals, which is my brand, and this is what I think the corals are to me and to many people that I know. They are little treasure in many ways. They're like little gems. So we collect them and we do treasure them. And also there's another meaning to all of this, which is it's a treasure in terms of nature, making sure that it's sustainable, that we don't lose the corals to a whole bunch of different factors. So I'm really fond of what people are doing with sustainability. I'm going to... So BC says, you could try the Reef Nutrition TDO pellets. Mine like them as well. So I will take a look at this one. I don't think I have seen the Reef Nutrition TDO pellets, but I think I've seen the ad. I think in the Coral magazine. So I think I know what you're talking about. I've just picked up something different. I picked up the Oyster Feast by ocean nutrition, and I think I'll be giving that a try for my corals, especially in the coral quarantine system, because there is not enough fish load, and because of the water changes, I can actually be a little bit more aggressive to feed the coral. Now, with Treasure Reef, my biggest issue right now is high phosphates, and doesn't matter what I do, I cannot seem to bring them down. So I've never had issues with nitrates. I've always, if anything, had an issue of having zero nitrates, but when it comes to phosphates, unfortunately not the case. So I'm dealing with the phosphates. I have cut down the feeding at least in half, and I saw a little bit of a decrease in the phosphates, but not for much longer. It then spiked back up. So I think maybe it's the sand or the rock, something is leaching it back. I was also very surprised to find out that the Tropic Marine Pro, which is the salt that I currently use, a freshly mixed batch, is about 0.06 ppm of phosphates. So to me, this is a little bit too much, and I plan to improve that. So, all right. Matt says, I use Fish Guy Rodney for all my fish. So shout out to Rodney, wherever you are. I'm sure you must be a really cool guy if other aquarists giving you props. So this is what I would say is huge for the hobby, is having good relationship with your local fish store, being able to support them, especially nowadays, but also it's a two-way street. So you come in, you regularly spend money, and sometimes you can get a discount or a deal, but most importantly, you learn, you get a little bit of you improve every month. You get a little bit of insight on how to deal with a particular problem, and there's just something about it. I've always enjoyed this. I've always enjoyed having long-term relationship with the local stores. You support them, they will support you. If they can take your frags, that's great for everybody. So I'm a big believer in this, and the people sticking around because they want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. They should be making money. They have to be prosperous, but also you gotta enjoy. You gotta treat the fish right, the whole 9 yards. Kai Lu. Kai Lu. Hello from Seattle. Seattle. Coffee, rain, all the good things in life. So I like, I've always wanted to be, maybe next year, I'm thinking Vancouver and Seattle. So let's see. I've been watching so many reef aquariums that I'm starting on a 28 gallon in about a week. Oh my God. So many people are starting out this time of the year. So very, very nice. Very happy for you. Waiting to get the essentials. By the way, you have a really nice tank. Newbie reefer. So, Kay, a couple of things for you. First and foremost, and I'm not sure if you're asking for my advice, so sorry if you haven't. But definitely try to use AquaticLog to actually be meticulous about your parameters. I would recommend it to everybody. So AquaticLog, go to aquaticlog.com or put it in the iPhone or an Android in the search in the App Store. And more importantly, learn from other reefers. And I think when I was starting out, you could only really learn from a couple of forums. At that time, only Reef Central was big. There was no even Reef to Reef. There was nanoreef.com and only other reefers and local fish stores. So get to know people, talk to them, learn what they've experienced, and basically go from there. So good luck to you. Feel free to ask any questions on my channel, or even write an email, and hopefully I'll be able to help. So good luck. This is very exciting. I think I started with a 28-gallon tank, and look at where I'm at now. So maybe, I hope you won't necessarily go that deep. Next, we've got Raising Arizona. So that's a really, really cool nickname. So first of all, I gotta rewatch that. So not my favorite Coen Brothers movie. I'm more Miller's Crossing and the Big Lebowski kind of guy, but it's definitely up there. I now want to rewatch it. It's such, you know what? I think I'm gonna rewatch it. It's holidays, so nice. Love your channel. I've been away from the hobby for 10 years, and I'm excited to do my next build. Keep up the great work. So yes, there's nothing like coming back into the hobby. You've ventured out, you tried something different, and now you know more. You can buy different type of equipment. You can start fresh. You can not necessarily make the same mistakes. Maybe you'll make completely different mistakes, and it's gonna be fun. So I'm very happy for you. So let's see who else is saying anything. And by the way, anybody who's dialed in, very soon there's gonna be a product announcement. So just, I don't want to create a suspense here, but hopefully it's going to be worth it. And happy holidays. All right, so we've got Jay Kelly. Have you had success with Sapastria? Only coral I struggle with. If so, any tips? Well, Sapastria is something that I struggle with myself. I'll be blunt about it. So there's a few corals that I'm not good at. One of them is Sapastria. The other one is acants. For whatever reason, just haven't really had any positive improvement on that front just yet. So Sapastria, I have some in my tank, but they're somewhere in the corner, and they're doing alrighty. So I think they are closer to Mantipora in many ways, but they're definitely a little bit more sensitive. I think they want the par of 100 to maybe 150, and they would want not being blasted by the sun or by the light, but they want basically some phosphates and nitrates in the tank, but not too much either. So I think the biggest issue for me is finding that balance between phosphate and nitrate. So like alkalinity is pretty easy to dial in. I don't really worry about calcium or magnesium as much. I test them sporadically. And by the way, if you ever are interested in knowing what my parameters are, you can just go to, I'll type it in right now, treasure, so aquaticlog.com, aquaticlog.com/treasure reef. So I'll paste that in the chat here. So you can, if you go to that link, you can actually see, if you scroll down, you will see my parameters, and they go under measurements. So you can click on that. You'll get over here on this page here that I'm going to share as well. And this is where you will see all of my, the green one, and you will see my nitrates, alkalinity, phosphates, salinity, and you can go all the way back to the beginning. So I've been tracking this down since May 4th, 2019. So quite some time. And so far it's been all right. I've had some ups and downs, and you can see I'm really dealing with high phosphates. So lately I've been measuring my alkalinity daily, and I have some helpers for that, and they're doing a very good job. But now I'm just dealing with the phosphate. I need to bring it down somehow. I've tried a few ways to bring it down through the GFO, and I had really bad results. Like my corals almost died. So this time I'm taking a step back. I'm going to do it a lot slower and probably try to do it through water changes and controlled input of phosphates as well as proper output. So that's the idea. So we've got quite a few people. So announcement is coming very, very shortly. So just stay tuned for another couple of minutes as I just get everything together. So have you had success? Okay, I ordered my first fish from TSM Aquatics. They are in quarantine now and will ship to me last week of January. Then I will quarantine for 8 weeks before going to my tank. So John, you're the most patient man I know. So I still haven't learned that. So, but kudos to you. So, okay. So, how about an announcement? That sounds good. So, all right. So, a few things. I have a product that I have helped to design, and the one that I'm going to be offering to anybody, especially it's going to be easy for anybody who lives in Canada, but probably could somehow work it out with US. I'm not sure just yet. So unfortunately, if you're in Australia, we'll have to figure something out as well. So sorry, I'm just preparing. So the big announcement, and I'm super proud of this. It is something that I now use daily. So I've mentioned that to be successful in here, you have to be mindful of your parameters, and I check my alkalinity daily. And one thing that I've always wanted is the ability to be organized about my alkalinity measurements. You can actually go back and see a couple of videos on how I do all of my testing, alkalinity, phosphates, salinity, you name it. And there were a few things that I always thought we could improve on, including the space where I put it on my desk, how I go about organizing, drying things, and you name it. So I want to present something that I'm extremely, extremely, extremely proud of. So this is the first product. This is a custom designed test kit holder for HANA reagent, and it works both for the DKH and ppm version. So looks fairly simple and straightforward, but it's something that I've been using for probably last few weeks, and this has gone through maybe 20 iterations, and later on I'll show all the prototypes and all the iterations, but this is custom designed, and the amount of thought that went into it is quite mind-boggling. So let me just quickly show what I'm talking about here. So first of all, Everything is nice and snug, but not too snug. So you can still move it around, nothing falls. Everything is nice and sturdy and secure. Then the reagent is not lying down. So don't know about you, but this way there's nothing that's gonna drip on your counter or anywhere else. So super useful. This thing also goes in and out, like a glove. It's very well built. There's a section for your syringe, and you can put it aside apart from the second part of it. And most importantly, the vials, you can keep them separate from the caps. You don't need to you don't need to close it. So basically all the water can drip or just evaporate down. There's no mess. There are little edges in here for any droplets to come out. There is enough air circulation that's going in. You've got little notches in here as well. So like I said, this is something that I'm extremely proud of, and I use it now all the time. So it's super small. It can fit anywhere on your desk. You can easily take it and move it around. And so this can be yours in just 4 installments of $14.99. No, never thought I would be doing an infomercial. So, but here I am. So anyways, really excited about this, especially if you're in GTA area. It's very easy to pick one up. Just go to treasurecorals.ca and you can order it through there. You can send me an email or write, and this is step number 1. And step number 2 is the second thing that I always use. Enjoy the color as well. Huh? So this is a holder, an organizer for phosphates. So same idea. I like that I can take the whole box and it fits perfectly of all the sachets in here. So basically there's no problem there. I know exactly how many I have before I'm going to order some more. Same idea with cubiters or whatever they're called. So basically everything is nice and clean, dries out. And I love this one. I like this one. They're both available on treasurecorals.com or treasurecorals.ca. And I also have one for copper. If anybody is doing quarantine of fish and they want to do copper, Hannah is awesome for that. So feel free to look into this one as well. The quality is phenomenal. It's using the food grade plastic that will be okay for your tank should this thing ever fall into it. And just overall something completely different. So I'm just trying something that I have not tried before. Let's see how successful this will be. I definitely know that for me there's no going back in terms of what I'm using. And let me know what you guys and gals think. So this is the big one. I'm super proud of doing this announcement at the end of the year. And I hope that you will somehow benefit from this. I just like even just having this now in my little cutting board area where I'm doing all of the frags there. So super proud and happy doing this particular announcement. All right, so okay, yes, so you tried out the app. Excellent. If you have any questions, shoot me an email and we'll go from there. So what was your first saltwater fish you purchased? So we're switching gears here. So if anybody has any questions about the organizers, let me know. I will also just very quickly type in the address. So treasurecorals.com. So feel free to go there and check it out. So, what was the first fish I purchased? Of course, this is the simplest answer, and I think there's probably at least 70% of all reefers will have exactly the same answer, and that is, it was a clownfish. And funny thing though is I did this way before I started my first reef aquarium. I still remember this was probably over 20 years ago. I was still doing I didn't even know about the planted tanks at the time. There was no planted tank, so everything was fairly straightforward. Cichlids, tropical, you name it. And the knowledge of saltwater at that time was super low, especially I think at that time there was very little in terms of the internet. So maybe 25 years ago. I'm dating myself here. And I remember I had a few tanks at home, all freshwater, and going to Big Al's, which was a local pet store that specializes in aquariums. So, great guys. It's, definitely a big step up from like a pet, one of those pet stores. And, I'd go in there, and most of the time I'd just go into the freshwater section, whether it's cichlids or tropical fish. And, I'd always walk by this small section of saltwater fish, but this was very intimidating. 25 years ago, if somebody asked me what is a coral, I'd probably show them the white skeleton and think that this is a coral, right? At best. So little did I know what corals really are, and all the husbandry and the symbiotic relationships, etc., etc. So at that time, I was starting to breed brine shrimp because I was feeding some of my more delicate fish with brine shrimp. And for this, you needed to venture into salt water. So I was doing a few mixes, and then eventually I figured, okay, let's actually take a dive into the salt water. And I remember buying my first clownfish. By the way, back then I was super intimidated by the whole idea of mixing water because, for the fresh water, especially at the time, you just take, the hose from your kitchen, start it up, maybe add a couple of drops of water conditioner, and you are going to be okay. So, but unfortunately, with salt water, it's not the case. My water was not RO, but I did eventually have prepared my first mix, and there was just something about creating salt water from water and salt. You create something, it's a foreign environment, and yet there's going to be a creature that's going to be living in it. Right now, it doesn't cross my mind, but at that time, this was like an alien form. So you create an ocean in your dorm or in the confines of your room, and I did that, and it was an excellent experience. I still remember how different the clownfish was, how it wiggles the body, and how much smarter it appeared as to compare to many freshwater fishes. And that was just an experience that I will not forget. I kept it for maybe a year and didn't do any corals at the time. And then there was a break of about probably 10 years before I started actually doing saltwater, with corals and the whole 9 yards. But to answer the question, it was a simple Nemo. Claymation, I remember you. Will you ever be doing worldwide delivery for your product, or would you like to keep it only to Canada? So far, I'll start with Canada and GTA. See how it goes there. More than happy to figure something out with the States. Maybe there's a way to ship it. Probably it's going to be a little bit harder with the duties and things like that, but we'll figure it out. So if there's a will, there's a way, and let me know. So I'm happy to help. So Jim Carson says hello. So hello to you, Jim Carson. John says, I love the holders. Will you be making one for nitrates? I would buy both if you make them both. So John, you got to tell me which nitrates, what test kit you use. So I'm very curious. So I personally use Red Sea, and as a matter of fact, there will be the test kit for Red Sea, because I do this for myself, first of all. So I want something that I'm a big believer in dog fooding. So basically you gotta consume your own product. So that's one of the recipes for a good experience. So if you use your own product, that goes a long way, and you're already getting something out of it. So yes, there will be one for magnesium by Salifert that will be available over the next day or two, and there will be one for nitrate, which will also be available probably in a few days. So right now there's some final designs that are happening, and I'll let you know. Oh, so you've already answered. So the HANA nitrate, I think so. Now I'm gonna ask you, John, what's your experience with the HANA nitrate? I'm really curious whether you used it and what your results were, and then I'll circle back and tell you my thoughts on it. So Julia, I will not forget as well, at least 40 tanks over 17 years of marriage. 40 tanks, I think there's been more than 40 tanks, honey. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So again, you gotta have fun doing this. If you're not having fun, probably there are many other hobbies to deal with or to be in. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm still enjoying it. I still like all aspects of it. So thank you. So John says, by the way, my spouse hates you. Oh my goodness. Ow, John, that's a low blow. When I decided to come back to the hobby, I wanted to start with 50 gallon, then found you, watched a few videos, and then decided to go to 159 gallons. It's your fault. So I'm usually the first to take blame, so nothing wrong with that. If I could be the reason for you to get a few extra gallons, trust me, and it will be worthwhile. So you will not regret it. The only thing I can tell you is you would have regretted going 50 gallons. So you're doing the right thing. So HANA nitrate. So yes, very curious, John, what you think of HANA nitrate, and hit me up on the email, and I'm be curious to find out more about it. So I most likely will be having one for nitrate for HANA. My only concern there was the amount of time it takes to do that particular test. I haven't had any experience with it. It looked a little bit intimidating to me at first. I really want to try it, and also I gotta read up on the whole high and low range thing and to see how applicable it is to kind of my husbandry. But maybe, just maybe, John, that would be the reason for me to try it out. So let's see. All right, next. So, and everybody who's dialing in, very quickly, happy holidays. A big announcement. I've announced I'm making a couple of products. So, an organizer for HANA alkalinity and organizer for HANA phosphate. And there's quite a few other things if you go to treasurecorals.com. So check it out and support the show. Now, Jim, the one that said hello, said, what kind of controller do you use? What are your screen names on these sites? So, two separate questions, Jim. So first of all, the screen names, the best way to find me is search for Treasure Reef on AquaticLog, and you will actually get to see my current aquarium as well as every aquarium that I've kept in the last 10 years. And because I've kept a lot more than 10 aquariums than the last 10 years. And you will be able to see the fish that I had, the equipment that I used on those aquariums, my husbandry, maintenance, and you will also be able to see all of my parameters. So basically my ups and downs when it comes to that. And you can also look me up on the YouTube. I've been documenting all of my meanderings and trials and tribulations. So having said that, in terms of the controller that I use right now, I use Apex for several of my aquariums. So individual Apex. I go all the way back from like the original version to the latest fancy ones. And I have a Hydrus controller on one of my aquariums. So pretty much have used quite a few of them, and I'm still forming my opinion on the Hydrus. But Apex is one of those things that's very trusty, and I know exactly what I'm getting, and I still haven't tried the Trident. My good friend Dane has been influencing me in getting one. I may just as well take a dive for the frag tank that I'm building. So I really like the idea of not having to manually test alkalinity all the time. But when you do, you want to make sure you have a good holder for your alkalinity test. All right, so John, I'm kidding. You did change my mind, and I'm not sorry. There you go. So, telling you, the thing you always regret when you get a tank is first, wow, I may have gone overboard and gone too much of a tank, and then later on you realize that you should have probably easily squeezed in a few extra inches here and there, or even feet. So I've learned from several people with behemoth tanks in the industry. One of them is Dane. The other one is Sanjay. I think they're all tried to go for as big as they could, and then once they finalized it, they went even bigger. So, and I don't think anybody regretted that. So I wholeheartedly follow them in this. So, and hopefully at some point there will be a 500-gallon aquarium in my future. Now, Dana says, I was the first to buy Alkan phosphate holder. They are great. So yes, Dane is my number one customer. He got, if there would have been any limited edition or like inscription 001, he'd have that. Well, I'd have the 001, so yeah, he'd have 002, but highly appreciate it. And like I said, the Treasure Corals team has poured their soul into this, and couldn't be more proud. So treasurecorals.com, both of these things are available, and quite a few other little things. So, thank you, Dane. Next, thanks Valhalla. By the way, awesome name as well. So I really get a kick out of some of you guys with the names. Thanks for everything you do, Dimitri, and happy holidays, brother. Yes, just a few more days until we wind down for this year. Couldn't be happier to be hosting this little powwow with the team and with everybody. So thank you all for joining. I'm mindful of everybody's time, so I think we'll be wrapping up at some point. But if you've got any questions or topics you want to go over, I'm more than happy to answer. John says, I'm going full Apex. Did get the Trident, but will not hook it up until I'm ready for first corals, perhaps around next fall. So, John, like I said, the most patient guy in the reefing community that I've come across. You think glacier speed is the speed, and I respect you for that. So I'm slowly trying to go into that direction as well. So, but there's still a few things that I have to improve upon this. All right. Well, it has been just over an hour that I've been yapping, so I think this is a good time to call it a night. You can go back to your loved ones and your families and continue doing other things. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you continue enjoying AquaticLog and my video channel. I'm certainly having fun doing it, and it's been a roller coaster year, but my viewership has tripled in the last year, so I've been taking it a little bit more seriously. I also think that going back, I've improved significantly in terms of my presentation, my video skills, my aquarist skills, and to me this is very important, being able to look back at last year and know that I'm a little bit better at something. Having said that, I want to also talk about COVID and just the fact that we've all been affected one way or the other. We've been at home. There's some silver lining, and being able to spend more time with the loved ones, being able to spend more time with your hobbies maybe, but I think we've all been affected financially, been affected mentally, and certainly my heart goes out for all of you that have. I certainly can relate and understand, and we can only hope that the next year is going to be better on that front. But that's why it's so important to have a good community, good understanding between people, and just good vibes, giving this to everybody. So thank you for all your support. I appreciate each and every one of AquaticLog customers, of my Treasure Corals viewers. Hopefully there's going to be some sales later tonight on Treasure Corals website, so treasurecorals.com. And in general, just stay healthy, enjoy time with the families, and I hope that your aquarium will never be dry, and your salt levels will not fluctuate. So with that said, thank you and happy holidays. And Danny Santos, you're the man. So happy holidays. Bye.